Before this video recording, I was speaking to my cameraman and he asked me, are you ready to make this video? This video is not going to be an easy video because it's a real video. You've seen the title. And for some of you that watch this video, there might be some things that come to mind. There might be some things that come to the surface that may be difficult or challenging, but I want to encourage you because this video, I've made it because I want to be able to share my story and I want to be able to share my journey because I'm on a healing journey, and I want you to know that you're not alone. So as you listen to this video, as you watch this video, I pray that you get from this video what was intended. Hi, my name's Herman Stewart and I'm the Mentor's Mentor. I'm an author. I'm the founder of Every Chinese Mentor. I'm a podcaster. I'm a TEDx speaker. But before I was the Mentor's Mentor, I was a young boy navigating my own pain in silence. And I want to share my story just to demonstrate how childhood trauma entered into my adult life. So when I was young, just like many of you that are watching this, you've come from different families and different scenarios and different situations, and we've had parents that have just been trying to work out their own lives, and a lot of them, they've been carrying their own trauma, and then they've parented us with their trauma. And as my parents split up, which was very traumatic for me as a young child, I had to leave my primary school and all those different kinds of things, and it was very difficult. There was also a time when my mum wasn't that well and my dad wasn't around, so it was almost like I wasn't being parented in a way that I could have been parented. And how that showed up in my life as an adult, it's like I would not really receive help well. Like even in my marriage, I could have been asking for more help and getting help earlier instead of me just trying to do it all by myself. And then when I'm overloaded and when it's too much, that's when I ask for help. I could have dealt with that in a better way. Even in my business life as a CEO, I could be delegating much more effectively, but because I've just wanted to try and handle things myself and just trying to make sure things get done. And it's almost like me staying in control and making sure that it's done in this way, so that's another way that it's affected my life as well. And even in my Christ life, in my life of faith, when God wants to help me to do my life, like there's been times I've just been wanted to do it myself. Like I've been just trying to be in control and trying to handle things. And it's almost like I've not been accepting help well. And some of that has been because of what I've experienced as a child. And I don't know about you, if this sounds similar to you or familiar, but we have all had childhood experiences and we've had trauma that we've had to deal with. And now as an adult, we're behaving in a certain way, we're triggered in a certain way, and we're responding in a certain way. But I want this video today to be able to help you and to help me to be able to overcome and get beyond the trauma that we've experienced in our lives. So you were once a child, just like I was once a child. And as someone who has spent decades mentoring children, parents and professionals, I've seen how often our adult lives reflect unspoken childhood wounds. My work with Every Child Needs a Mentor has shown me that mentorship doesn't just shape the next generation, it heals the last one too. So you might be saying, what is trauma? Trauma is not just what happened to you, it's what you felt and what you had to do to survive it. It could have been violence, it could have been silence, it could have been needed too early or being ignored entirely. Some of us were never hit, but we were never held, we were never hugged either. And at Every Child Needs a Mentor, we don't just provide mentorship, we create safe, consistent, loving environments that help children recover from trauma even before they have the words for it. And we help adults realize it's never too late to heal what wasn't nurtured. How trauma shows up in adults, shutting down when conflict arises. So we could be in arguments, something could happen, and all of a sudden we've shut down, we're not engaging. We've turned off, we've just glazed over. That's one way that it shows up. The other way that trauma shows up in adults is overreacting to being ignored. You could be ignored and it's almost like it triggers a time in your previous life when you were neglected or someone wasn't there, they wasn't present for you. The fearing of vulnerability, even with loved ones. So we could have loved ones, we could have people that care for us. We got people that are totally invested. They've earned our trust, but we're not being vulnerable. We're not sharing how difficult something is, or we're not expressing ourselves fully, so that's another way that it shows up in adulthood. Chasing perfection to feel enough. Now, this is a big one. So many of us think that we need to be perfect, or we need to get things totally right, and we feel it's because we just like to do work really well. Sometimes it's because we don't feel like we're actually enough. We don't feel like we're good enough, and we go over the top. We overcompensate just to be accepted. And a lot of us, that's what we're really struggling with, so we're being perfect, but it's not because it's just how we are. It's because we don't feel that we're good enough, and we don't feel that we're accepted as we are. And not trusting joy and peace feels unfamiliar and suspicious. Are you one of those people that when it's peaceful, you worry? You know what I mean? Like when it's quiet, you feel like it's too quiet. And that's because you've probably grown up in a toxic environment. You've probably grown up in a place where it was always up and down. It was always noisy. It was always unstable. So when now you've got stability in your life, you've got stability in your relationship, now you're like messing things up. You're creating anarchy. You're creating you're just taking away the peace because it doesn't feel normal, and you feel suspicious when it's peaceful. So in mentoring adults, I often meet adults who say, I don't want to pass down what was passed to me. And what they're saying really is they know that they were passed something that really they shouldn't have been passed. And they want to break the cycle. And I want to say to you, it's important that you realize that if you don't fight that battle now, if you don't fight that battle, whether it's a battle of poverty, or you don't fight that battle of toxicity, or there's a lot of negativity in your home, or there's a lot of bad relationships, or marriages don't work in your family, or whatever it is, if you don't battle that and you don't battle those demons, if you don't go for those things head on, then your children are going to have to battle them, and you're more equipped to battle them. And that's what hurts at times when I see people, when I see fathers, when I see mothers, avoiding the battle, avoiding the difficulty, but they don't realize that that's going to create more momentum for their children to now have to overcome that challenge. And that's where the deeper work really begins for you. And that's what I hold space for as the mentor's mentor. So when we're talking about trauma, let's start looking at some of the trauma responses and the triggers. A trauma response is your body's survival system kicking in, even if the danger is long gone. So if you think about that, you're reacting to something that is no longer around. You're reacting to something that is many years ago. And now what can be said about that is you're reacting in a way, and now your partner or your wife or your children or whoever it is that are in your life now, they're paying for what someone done in the past. And that's what a trauma response is and triggers. And then there's the 4 F's. So it's fight, and that's when it's expressed through anger, it's expressed through aggression, it's expressed through needing control. It's flight, like there's anxiety, do you know what I mean? There's like overworking, there's like avoiding people, there's freeze, that's when you're like, there's just numbness, and you can't feel anything, you're shut down, and there's like procrastination because you don't want to feel the trauma, and then there's fawn, and then that's like people pleasing and fear of saying no. So when you're thinking about these triggers, these are things that happen. And when we think about triggers, sometimes you're probably always talking about triggers, but you don't realize what it actually means. So a trigger is something, it's a sound, it's a tone, it's a word, it's a touch or a smell that reminds your nervous system of a past threat. So when you think about that, it's not just a mental thing. It's not just emotional thing. This is a physical thing. It's your nervous system is feeling that there's a threat. So you could hear a sound, like it could be a song that you're hearing, and that song would be on in your house when domestic violence was in your house, or there could be something that makes you remember a time when, you know, your parents left you in the house and you was by yourself and so forth, and there was a TV program that was always on. So anytime you hear that program soundtrack, you go back to that place and it feels like a threat and your nervous system starts to get triggered. So this is something that's really important, and I want you to understand that being triggered doesn't mean you're broken. It means your body remembers and is trying to protect you. So the healing starts here. And I know that this video is a difficult video. It could be a tough video. You know, this could bring things to the surface for you, but the fact that it's being brought to the surface is the fact that you can start dealing with it, or the fact that you could start healing and going beyond it. So healing begins with seeing, not fixing. You know, you don't need to take blame. You don't need to think that it was your fault, because it wasn't necessarily your fault. So you don't need to fix it. So you might see something and you might see that this is wrong with me. I'm always responding in this way, or why am I dealing with my partner in this way, or why am I always overreacting, or why am I getting angry? Why am I blowing up? You know, once you can see it and you can become self-aware, then you can start going about healing and going beyond it. You know, you can start talking to someone that you feel has got time for you, someone that won't judge you, someone that will listen to you, you know, and you can start expressing yourself and start getting some of these things off your chest. You can journal, you know, write down what you're going through, write down some of the challenges you might be experiencing, and you can cry. And I feel like this is one of the big ones for men. This is one of the big ones, because a lot of men feel that it's not manly to cry. And I remember when my mom said something to me that was so powerful. She said that God put the same tears in men as he put in women. But what is happening is that men are not using up their tears. And when they're not using up their tears, they're not getting a release. And that's why many men will probably be in a place of feeling that it's best to end their lives, or feeling that it's best to not live anymore before crying. Do you know what I mean? So I would say being able to cry is important, you know, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. And I heard this saying before, which was powerful, and it's saying that tears are like liquid prayers. So don't be scared to cry. Don't be scared to express yourself, because it could be a part of your healing process and helping you to go beyond the trauma. The next thing that can help is therapy. For me, I've gone through a therapy journey, and I have had to go through and experience these things, and it really helped me. For many years, I was just trying to put it off. I was kind of, if I can be really honest, I was fearful of what I could find. You know, it's almost like I thought, what I've buried or what's in the past, leave it in the past. But even when you bury things, they're not gone. Think about that. You've buried it, it's still there, you know, and that thing that's there and is not gone is now affecting your decision-making process. It's affecting your emotions. It's affecting your inner world. So being able to go through therapy can help, and being able to have a community, you know, a tribe, a place where it's a safe space that you can talk and you can overcome these things together. That's a powerful thing. The other thing that I would say, and this might be a bit touching, you know, really, is you can reparent your inner child. Many of us as children, we weren't seen, or many of us as children, we weren't loved in the way that we needed to be loved. And I'm not being hard on parents, and I'm not even saying it's parents' faults, because sometimes parents, they would love how they were loved. You know, they will parent how they were parented. So if they are struggling, then probably it's going to be hard for them to parent you or parent me in a way that we probably deserve. And I would say, you know, as a child, what you probably never got or you feel is missing or so forth. And I would say, why don't you reparent your inner child? Why don't you start having some self-compassion? Why don't you start thinking about yourself as a child? Why don't you know exactly where you are? They haven't gone. That inner child hasn't gone. Even though you're an adult, that inner child is still there. So why don't you start reparenting that inner child and giving them the love, giving them the care, giving them those inner hugs that they need? Why don't you start doing that? And the next one is let love go backwards. So let the love that you know now Let it go backwards when you go down to the memory lane, when you go into the past. Sometimes we can go into the past and we just let regret go down there. We just let shame go get down there. We just let how we feel go down there, resentment and bitterness. Why don't you let love go down there? Let love go down memory lane. When you look at yourself as a child, why don't you give yourself compassion? Why don't you say, oh, everything's going to be better? Let love go backwards. You are not what happened to you. You're healing through it. You're not late. You're right on time. This generation will feel your healing. You are the generation interruption, the generational interrupter. You are the one that is to break the cycle. And you have to be the one that breaks the cycle. And your softness is sacred. And you need to be that person. So I want to take this moment and I want to be able to pray. I want to pray for the child I once was. I want to pray for the children we serve through Every Child Needs a Mentor, and those that are needing that love and needing that encouragement and needing to be seen, and for the parents and the adults still walking toward their healing. So God, please right now touch this person that is listening with your love. Touch them with your acceptance. Touch them. Let them know that they belong. Let them know that they are good enough. Let them know that you've always been pleased with them. Let them know that they've never been alone, even when they was in their youth and they felt alone, or they felt that they were going through that process all by themselves and they were saddened by it. But you was there and you were saddened by it too. And you was there, wanted to hug them, wanted to love them, wanted to care for them. And you now are drawing them to you, that you can heal where they hurt. You can heal those wounds, and you can help them to come to a place of wholeness, that they could become the person that you had in mind before they were born, that they can become the person that they truly are, that they can live beyond trauma, they can live beyond the pain, and they can live beyond the hurt, and they could become all that they are already on the inside. And I pray that you would help them to come out of the inside of where they're hiding, the shell that they're hiding in, and that they could come out and they can be seen, and that they could be restored. And I pray that you would do this right now for their lives, and that their lives will be transformed. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Speak these words with me. I am not broken. I am healing. I am safe to feel and safe to grow. My past is not my prison. I am the parent, the partner, the person I needed. Now, I know that this video has been a touching video. In some points it will bring things to the surface. I hope that this is a healing video. I hope that you understand that you're not alone. I've been through this journey. I am still going through this journey, and I know so many people that are still going through this journey. So you're not alone. And I want to make sure that there's some homework. I want to give you some healing homework and some self-love practice. So I want you this week to write a letter to your younger self. Get in a quiet moment, have some nice soft music, and write a letter to who you was when you was younger, from who you are now. The wisdom that you have now, the things that you know now, the things that have turned around even for good, that when you was younger, you didn't know how it was going to work out. Why don't you talk from your future into your past and let them know that everything's going to be all right? Why don't you write that letter to your younger self? Why don't you journal? And as you're becoming more self-aware, because being self-aware is going to be a part of your healing, why don't you start writing, like, when you feel triggered, or what happens when you see this person, or when you get in this situation, or when you talk about money, because some of us have experienced financial trauma. When you talk about money, how do you feel? How do you feel when you're in certain situations? Why don't you journal it so you can start seeing what you've gone through and what you're experiencing? I feel that would be a powerful thing for you. Another practice I want you to do is just to have a moment of stillness each day. Because I know, as someone that has been going through trauma and been traumatized in different ways as a youngster growing up, there was a time I just wasn't comfortable in my own skin. There was a time that I was really running from myself. I remember when I literally tried to run from myself, I was, at the house party and all those kind of things, so different things was involved, but I was trying to run down the hill from myself. And that was because I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. So a lot of times we're always busy and we're overworking and we're always watching TV or Netflix or going out or this or doing that. Because we don't want to be alone by ourselves. We don't want to be alone with ourselves. So why don't we be able to have a few moments of stillness each day? It don't have to be long. It could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Let it grow, because you're worth being with. You truly are. The next thing is, I want you to tell yourself, I love you, in the mirror. I want you to look in your eyes in the mirror and say, I love you. I want you to do that. And I want you to be able to reach out to someone safe and say, I'm working on my healing. So I want you to remember, you are not alone. Your pain isn't your full story. Your healing is. Thank you for walking with me today. You were always worthy. Now you're learning to believe it. I want you to know that you are worthy, you are valuable, and I am so grateful that you're spending this time with me, and there is no judgment. Please recognize there is no judgment. Loving yourself doesn't mean just loving the things that are good about you. It's loving the things that are not good about you, because you are you until you're not you. Like when you move forward in life and you start improving and changing, you become a new version of you. But on your journey to that, you deserve to be loved now. So listen, take care. Thank you so much for watching this, and come back. We're healing together, and I look forward to you being with me next week. Take care.